we are very excited about this. Tell us what show we're talking about and who we're going to be speaking to.
We're going to be talking to Gemma Whelan, who is here to talk about her role as Marion in the much-loved drama Gentleman Jack. The series, created and written by Sally Wainwright, the genius behind Happy Valley, along with practically every other drama, explores the life of Anne Lister, a 19th century Yorkshire landowner and industrialist from the Calder Valley. Lister was a trailblazer, an open lesbian before the term had even been invented, who refused to live to society's norms and did not give a hoot about what other people thought of her. Marion is Anne Lister's sister and herself played by Saran Jones. The material the show is based on is also fascinating. This is one of those shows that is just as interesting about how they put it to screen and the story behind it. But the series is based on some of Lister's 5 million word strong diaries that were essentially written in code that she had devised, or because of her indecipherable handwriting. And full disclosure, I watched all of season 1 and the first episode of series 2 over the weekend, and this show is my life now. Here's a clip.
Here we are.
How was your journey?
Oh, delightful. A bit of a delay in Leeds, but...
Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome.
Captain Lister, how are you?
Not so bad. Much the same.
How are you?
Oh, I'm well. I'm
Very well, thank you.
Where's Aunt?
Oh, she's upstairs. She'll be on her way down. Oh, and thank you for the syrup.
Oh, did you get rid of your cough?
I think so.
I am so pleased that Gemma is with us. Gemma plays Marianne in the series. Before we get into it, Gemma, I just want to ask, Scott has been asking about unpopular TV opinions. Have you got any unpopular opinions about TV shows?
An unpopular opinion?
Yes. For example, someone just texted us and said, the Friends just isn't funny, which I think is
that's quite a
increasingly a popular opinion.
Unpopular opinion.
Yes.
No, I don't agree with that. That is an unpopular opinion according to me. Do I have any unpopular opinions? No, I think I've just got great taste, guys.
You've just got great taste. Yes, exactly. We will go with that. So tell us, we are all so excited about this new series. How much of a departure is your character, Marianne, in Gentleman Jack, to someone like Yara Greyjoy in Game of Thrones?
I mean, they're polar opposites. I think that they could be more different if they tried. But I think at the heart of it, though, they could share a sense of like strength and sibling fidelity. But all else, you know, one wears corsets and sews at home, and one swings an axe and, you know, gets busy on boats, shall we say. So, yeah, they're very different, but they do have some core family values, I'd say, that they could share if you stretched it.
Very, very good. And I know I was very happy to find out you're from Leeds, aren't you?
I am indeed from Leeds, from Headingley, yes.
Yes, I used to live in Headingley, and I'm from down
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I was at uni in Leeds. And how nice was it for you to be able to work in Halifax for Gentleman Jack?
Really, really great. I think it's always nice to feel a bit authentic, you know, like I'm from there. So, you know, it feels like I sort of belong in the show, which is nice, and no imposter syndrome. And yeah, it's always nice to be back up north. You know, they're very, very good folk up there, and I feel at home when I'm there. So yeah, and also Halifax and the whole of the surrounding area and where we shot was just so beautiful. We were so well welcomed when we were filming on location. That was a really special experience. And to film in Shibden Hall, where the Listers lived, was pretty special as well.
And of course, you know, having that local history is just so exciting. Did you honestly know anything about Anne Lister before you were approached to take part in this series?
Had no clue of her whatsoever, absolutely not. And then this whole world opens up, doesn't it? So as you said, like 5 million words she wrote, so there were 6 of it in code. And this whole, you know, as I say, this whole world is uncovered once you sort of unlock the diaries. And it's just such a gift, isn't it, to sort of have all that material written already, and for Sally to sort of then turn them into the scripts that she has. It's a real... What a treasure to find. But no, I'd never heard of her before that. No, had you?
No. I mean, this is the thing.
No, I don't know anyone who had, apart from Sally. She knows
also,
everything.
Yeah, because it's just that kind of opening up LGBTQIA plus history that, of course, it's always part of our whole history, because, of course, there have been these people who have lived within our society always. but just
Always.
the fact of having that shining a light, but also kind of changing the nature of what historical drama normally is, because
Absolutely.
you're seeing something that's kind of seeing it from that era that we've seen many times on TV from a completely different perspective.
Absolutely. And this woman as well, who sort of lives fully in her skin and fully unapologetically herself, and really front-footed and excited to be who she is and knows what she wants, and you know that people existed like that even then, and how inspiring that it was ever thus. And whoever, it's just inspiring for any demographic watching it, I think, for any number of reasons. It's a real...
Completely. I want to bring Haley in a second, but I was just going to say, I watched the first step of series 2 on the weekend, and I have to confess, I hadn't seen the first season. So when I started watching it, and it's, the two Anns, and I'm thinking, oh wow, the two Anns they're lesbians, they're in a relationship. This is great. This is unexpected. It's not just not what I thought this period drama would be about. And then, of course, I thought, okay, let me just look into the history of this. So this whole idea of these secret diaries and the backstory and the notion that these women living this life, centuries ago, would now be part of a BBC HBO co-commission and be on and we're discussing it in this. But what a beautiful notion.
Isn't it brilliant? It's really brilliant. It's got such a huge fan base as well, globally loved show. It's just sort of tapped into a real moment of lazy, because the scripts are so contemporary and funny, but they're about something really, relevant and immediate as well, and inclusive and exciting. And and the fact that it's true is always a real hook, I think, for people who are watching. So it's got everything.
That's very true. Haley?
I love Sally Wainwright. I think she's one of our best TV writers at the moment. I'm a huge fan of Happy Valley. And I think she especially writes women really, really well. What do you think makes her so great at what she does?
Oh, God. I mean, it's a word that's often used, but I do think she's a genius. And anything she sort of turns her hand to, she's very humble about. And she's, it just writes itself. I had the diaries, but she does write women incredibly well. She's just so tuned in, I think, to a level of humanity that is really special, I think. And she really, there's a review out today that sort of taps into her as being someone who can write all these sort of other characters in the show, and we even though we're very, very invested in Anne Lister and we want to be with her and her story, she manages to keep every other character really alive and interesting as well, and to sew all the different storylines together, and everyone's to be interested in everything from like the lesbian love story to what's happening in the coal pit to what Marion's up to at home, and we're really invested in it all. We want to know what everyone's up to because it's so beautifully written and so wittily written, and it's very real and immediate, I think, the language that she uses. So, and we're all sort of, she wants us to sort of tumble over each other with dialogue and dive into the food on the table and try and be as human as possible as in our representations. So, I don't know. Sorry, it's my baby in the background.
It's very cute.
Oh, it's lovely.
Fred is all right.
Also, of course, in regards to your own character, I mean, your relationship with Anne during the series 1 was sometimes a bit fractious. Sometimes you didn't necessarily get on. But how has you seen the relationship between your character and Anne develop, and also how will it develop with series 2?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think particularly in the first series, she was very much like sort of on at Anne all the time, just to be home in time for lunch and where's she been and all this. And I think the dynamic this season is sort of not dissimilar, but she does move on. Marion makes an attempt at a date. That's probably all I can say. And Anne's got quite a lot to say about that, as you might imagine. But I think they become. What's great about, again, Sally's writing is she writes the sibling relationship really well, because we hate one another and there's loads of friction, but at the heart of it, we genuinely adore each other. And I think that really comes across this series. They face great challenges together. And Marion really, really challenges Anne and is handled by her. And you can really see, even though it's tough love and tough words, it's coming from a place of love. And I think that's Sally's brilliant writing.
And I also think that you've, this is where I try not to get myself into trouble because I come from a large family and we all deeply do love each other, including my sisters. In case they are listening, I do love you. But I think you completely reflect that in terms of the love-hate relationship, in terms of the sheer competitiveness that can happen between sisters.
Yes, and Marion is definitely the less interesting stay-at-home little sister of an extremely exotic, brilliant, vibrant flower of a woman that is Anne Lister, her sister. So yeah, it's a great dynamic to play, and Saran and I get on extremely well. So we really relish our scenes together. It's a real treat.
Completely, in this,
my little baby burp.
I get it's completely.
That was him. That wasn't
Good excuse.
I'm all for the baby burps. I think it's not. It acts as punctuation.
Shifting of the blame.
Good old boy.
You can burp as well if you want. Honestly,
If you've got a baby around you, you can just realise
Try
that's
not to.
That's what I've realised. If you've got a baby with you, anything you can just blame on the baby.
Yes.
Rather than saying for yourself.
Completely fine. I know in the new series, your character Marianne is on the lookout for a husband. What form is that search gonna take?
Well, there was a certain chap in the first series that may or may not sort of still be around, and she might have ideas about a marriage. But whether or not that's going to be allowed is another. I'm so sorry.
That isn't your baby. That's definitely not your baby.
There is a baby burping on aisle 4. There is a baby burping on aisle 4.
Are you in the supermarket? You're just chatting to us while she's in the super. Are you doing your weekly shop?
I had really strong plans to get home in time, but we ran out of nappies, so I'm in Sainsbury's.
That is
And
literally.
I thought, thank goodness the tannoy's not gone off. They won't be able to tell them in the men's wear.
I mean,
oh God, here we go.
This is real life.
What else have you got in your trolley? Let's just go through your whole list. Look, we've broken the fourth wall now. We might as well.
We've got a lot of Easter bits and bobs, and some new knickers for my 4-year-old daughter. There you go. You heard it here first.
Wow.
We're getting really privileged insight.
Everyone thinks my life is very glamorous, and here we are.
There we are.
When she's a teenager, don't do this.
Hayley, can you take us out of the supermarket and back to the TV show, please?
If you had to live in one costume, would you rather live in your Game of Thrones costume or your Gentleman Jack one, or something from Sainsbury's next to you?
Game of Thrones costume, because the corsets on the in Marion Lister ones are very, very tight. So, and there's a bit more wriggle room in the Yara Greyjoy ones. But if they could be as beautiful as Tom Pye's designs, but as comfortable as Yara, I'd probably make a hybrid.
Do you have to sit in them for ages because you're on set?
Yes, ages, and normally during very hot summers as well.
Oh no!
Because poor little me, but poor little me in my pretty costume and a really nice TV show.
Tell us. I know we've just seen, and I know a lot of the internet went into meltdown about these pictures from the Game of Thrones prequel.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was definitely not you. It's called House of the Dragon, isn't it? I'm just going to keep going. And I know it's starring Matt Smith. I know it's set kind of hundreds of years before Game of Thrones. So what I want to know, is there any conceivable way in which you'd make a cameo? I know the timeline might be all over the place. And also I want to know, are you excited about watching it?
Well, I've heard mixed things, whether it was happening and then it wasn't happening, then it's happening again. So great that it's happening. And I will definitely tune in. And I think unless I've been cryogenically sort of sent back in time, it might be a stretch to think that Yara could appear. But, there's holograms,
Yeah.
I always forget about the holograms in that show.
Game.
There are ways to make it work, I'm sure. Absolutely. We're really looking forward to that, and we're really looking forward to Gentleman Jack. What do you think? Do you think viewers are going to be surprised in terms of this series and how it compares to the first one? I know there's this notion that in the first series, there was a chase with the two Annes. Is this more kind of focused on life after the chase. Is that fair to say?
I think you've summed it up really brilliantly. Yeah, that there's sort of, the thrill of the chase was the first series, and now this is sort of the nitty gritty of, to all intents and purposes, a marriage and living together and working out the sort of the machinations of that dynamic, living together and living, with her, Anne Lister's family, and dealing with, certain aspects of Anne's past that come up, Anne Lister's past that come up, and alongside sort of the family having their own brilliant tangents that they challenge Anne with as well. So yes, and it sort of moves on at such a lick, and it's so impressive in its density of material and subjects, but also it's how it's so lightly dealt with, and there's so much humour in it. But I think people are going to be not surprised, because the first season was brilliant, and you could only hope with Sally Wainwright at the wheel that it would just continue to get along the same lines and better. So yeah, I think it started with a bang, and I don't think it'll whimper out. I think it's going to be full steam until the end, which is really exciting to be part of.
Of course, I know the first step of season 2 went out last night. Are you still in a place where you have, do you get a little bit nervous before these things go out into the world? Because I imagine this was filmed, a long time ago, then you don't have to think about it. And then all of a sudden you're being asked all these questions.
Yeah, I was up feeding Freddie in the middle of the night last night, and I was Googling, what does everyone think on Twitter? And I was like, okay, the general mood is good. So that's good. Because you can do your part, but we all worked so hard. It was, it was about a year and a half in the end, because of all the lockdowns and the shutdowns, because of certain people getting COVID. It took such a long time. It was such a labour of love, and for it to have been received so well is so rewarding, because people were on their knees with how hard they were working at certain stages of the shoot, as many of the television productions were trying to keep it going. So to be met with such luminous joy when it's finally released is really gratifying for everybody.
That is lovely. Gemma, it has been very nice speaking to you. Thank you so much. I know, and is it Freddie too? Freddie as well?
Freddie.
Yeah. I think Freddie is undoubtedly the star of this chat, but
and a little scream, and we've heard the tannoy announcements about the offers in the supermarket, so
it's what we would call an illustrated interview. That's what
it could have been next to the self-service checkouts, so we're happy that it's not.
Exactly.
Thankfully, there's no beeping. No, I'm in the menswear department because it's quiet.
That's brilliant. Have a lovely afternoon. I hope you get all your
just thought of that. Amazing.
Wasn't that brilliant? Thank you, Gemma. And you can watch Gentleman Jack on Sundays at 9 p.m.